You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy.
iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis.
Hang on.
iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer.
Can you start over? It said come to the iRacers Lounge, not welcome. I don't know why, but it just keeps cutting off the well syllable. So just start over. Hold it down for a little bit longer.
I pushed the button. I pushed the button way early. You can look at the green line around my head.
All right, let's try again.
I don't think you're ever going to get that perfect. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Greg Hectus.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, Brad Wren.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Justin Pearson.
What up, my friends?
And the back is back, Mackenzie Stevens.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome. And David Hall.
Yeah, in for a few minutes before I have to run off and play a show.
On the show today, we'll give the latest news on the IndyCar gaming license and its possible impact on iRacing. We'll ask if you're ready to bet on iRacing, and would you be willing to bet your life in sim racing? And remember, you can follow along with us on your PC or mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all the great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. Hope to see you there.
All right, before we dive into the topics, I wanted to do a follow-up last week since I didn't get to chime in on it. You talked about some recommended changes for the protest system, and I liked the idea of the possibility of wins and points being taken away, especially because that's something everybody else could see. Which is one of the frustrating things about the current system is you never really know what somebody else gets. The other thing that I think that's frustrating with the system is, as far as rough driving goes, and they've talked about it some on a couple of the podcasts last week about policing their system. If the only thing you ever go after is the guy that retaliates, but don't do something about somebody who's constantly Carson Hocevar and people, then you're still going to have the issues. And I don't think it's fair to only go after the guys who retaliate.
Yeah, just the people who get protested and not like everybody else, huh?
Well, if somebody just dive bombs you and runs into you, they will call it a racing incident.
Yeah, so when you do those protests, you need the repeated incidents. Well, he took me out here, he took this guy out later, and yeah.
So that was my 2 cents. I don't know if y'all had any comments on that before we move into the topics.
Well, I guess, the more I think about it, it's sticky, and what is exactly iRacing going to tweak to make this work? I don't think we know. We just saw an overall concept. We had a few sentences. How is that really going to translate in the details? I don't think we know.
The concern about the workload is legitimate too, because of how many protests they probably have to deal with. Well, let's kick off the topics, though. You can bet on just about anything today, and now that includes iRacing. iRacing has signed I don't know if they signed a partnership, but you can now bet on iRacing wages in DraftKings.
Well, it actually looks like you can bet. We actually put our task guy, John, on this and said, John, put up some money, get on DraftKings and bet on iRacing. Well, he signed up and he reported back that there's nothing to bet on yet. It looks like they're just setting up for something in the future. I think somebody on the team speculated maybe next season's Coke series.
Coke series, but they could also use the road to the Contender series as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
just
mean,
finished up. But
my thought could be that really any of your special events could end up being an opportunity for this.
Do you think they get like, I know Indy or not Indy, Podium throws on a Daytona 500 and does all that kind of stuff. Do you think maybe that could be bet on as something in the future together too, something that's hosted maybe?
I don't know.
Possibly.
But
Anything that seems official enough that they can hope that it's not being manipulated. What would be funny? You could bet on all kinds of contingencies, like how many incidents will be in a race. You know, obviously the caution count bet, especially at a Martinsville NIS race.
so why I had John look into this, because when you think DraftKings, you're thinking betting and on sports and that kind of thing, but they also do daily fantasy. And when the page that we found that includes the word iRacing on their website at DraftKings.com is, I think, under the fantasy tab. So, is it possible that there's some kind of daily fantasy iRacing going on instead of betting?
I'm guessing this is more of a fantasy because you have to like create a lineup of 6 drivers. So it's not like you're just picking one guy and saying he's gonna win. You pick 6 drivers and have to stay within the salary cap, and then I think just whoever ends up getting the most points. So it'll be like our fantasy we run on our NASCAR app there for all the races, I'm guessing.
Now, doing this opens up iRacing to some problems with, I would guess these guys that, sorry, if it gets into the Coke series, they're gonna have to sign probably agreements that they're not being, what's them to stop being someone betting on them and they know about being bet on and throwing a race or something like that to make money or something, depending on what these are at. There has to be some integrity to it somehow, and iRacing and DraftKings there has to be something that they got to be able to police it.
Well, I think that's really the elephant in the room altogether when it comes to sports betting.
Yeah, but if you think from sports betting, there, the NBA, the NHL, they have people that make a lot of money to watch this. Like, what is there to, like, who's gonna police it completely?
Like I see it just being select events. Yeah, because you can't control that. I don't see it being like a Saturday night NIS race.
Right.
It's definitely going to have to be something like series drivers in a league that probably already do sign agreements that go above and beyond the regular iRacers agreement, that the end user license agreement that everybody else signs.
Then kind of um, it's actually, I believe it is a fantasy kind of deal where you pick a lineup, because there's a difference between DraftKings Daily Fantasy and DraftKings Sportsbook. The Sportsbook's where you do the, caution incidents, top fives, leader, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So it could be like ours, where you have to do so well after the whole season, and the winner gets the grand prize or whatever.
Yeah, Mackenzie nailed it. I think it's fantasy for sure. We don't know what series. It does say 6 drivers. So I imagine, like, if it is a Coke series, like before it starts, you lock in your 6, and it goes.
All right, Mike, tell us about 5 features that you didn't know about iRacing.
Well, that's what Josh Garner put up on his video on YouTube, detailing 5 features that you might not know about. The first one he talked about was practice groups. That's where you get into a practice and you can change kind of rooms and go into a room by yourself, so to speak. Custom radio frequencies. Now, a lot of people don't know about this one, but you can go in your black boxes to the radio tab and literally type in a name like Mike. And then if I'm working in a race with somebody and I want to partner up with them, I can, uh, DM them and say, hey, make a channel called Mike. And then you can talk to them right in Sim one on one. With the Discord and TeamSpeak and that kind of stuff, I think there's a lot less use for that. Um, but it's handy if you're trying to talk to somebody that's not on your team, I guess. The graphics black box, he talked about that, moving, your height up and down and that kind of stuff. Active reset, a lot of people aren't using that for practicing. You don't have to do an out lap every time you crash. You can set up an active reset to save you a lot of time. He kind of showed that. And then finally, sessions results info. When you go look at your results at the end after a race, there's a lot of neat little links in there. And if you click the highlighted ones, they show you a lot more information. One that he actually pointed out to me that I've never seen before is I don't know exactly what it's called, but you click a link on that page and it brings up the incident report. Like you can see when people get black flagged uh, or anything like that. It's kind of a list of what happened in the race. It's cool.
The practice groups was interesting. I've never seen that. So has anybody used that before? Because I was a little confused when he explained it.
Yeah, quite a few of us use it all the time, especially when we're going to practice a qualifying run. If I've run a bunch of practice laps and feel good about the race set, and want to just make sure that I'm not going to die on the Q set because it's tuned wrong, I'll jump into an empty practice session so I can get a clean qualifying run.
So you're still in the same server, or you're going into a different server? I guess that's where my confusion is.
You're still in the
Same
same
server.
server. The track is empty because it only lets about I think like 30 or so cars per practice group, and then at that point it starts throwing people into the second track essentially. So it's like parallel universes essentially.
There's
So
groups inside the server, right? Different groups, and you can just kind of jump in it. It's like I'd call it almost like a pseudo server.
So we have like the iRacing multiverse.
Right. I like that title idea.
I feel like there needs to be a soundtrack for Marvel playing as he says that.
I want to make reference to a recent Marvel show, but yikes, it's probably too soon.
Racing world record. The time to beat 104.43.
Well, I guess we're going to take the next topic here for Max's world record. Grand Pooh Bear teamed up with Jimmy Broadbent, Cameron Daz, and Cooper Webster of the Red Bull Sim Racing to try and break Max's world record at, it was obviously Charlotte is that an F3 car that it was in? I was trying to figure out which car they were trying to beat it in. But
Sure on the car, but
they had 30 minutes to try and beat it, and I guess it was Cooper that was really close to beating it and lost it at the last second. But that world record's held up for, apparently, if you read the comments, for 3 years or something like that now.
they got within 0.7 seconds, I think, of his lap.
I wonder if any of that has to do with patches and updates. They're talking about that too in the comment sections. Like maybe it's just not possible. But if they got pretty close, they're doing a hell of a job to get close to Max's time.
I think you forget who we're talking about here. He's like the alien of aliens.
Yeah.
Well, And I guess while we're talking about Max, let's talk about Vegas real quick. I mean, what a spectacle I saw last night with the driver introductions. I mean, have you ever seen in motorsports anything like it? It's crazy.
The amount of money being spent is ridiculous. But then when you look at the amount of money they're charging, now you understand why.
But they're not. How good is it gonna be? I just think it's gonna be really weird because, like tonight, we're gonna go. I think it's like 10 or 11 o'clock my time, or there's a Vegas time that they're gonna be practicing starting tonight. I think it's Vegas time. They're practicing at like 10 or 11 tonight, and then into like 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, I got family over in Vegas last week, and they were telling, and for a business trip, and they were telling me that the locals are just so annoyed with this Vegas F1 race, and it's kind of taking the same pattern because when I went to the NASCAR race in Chicago, the locals there, they did not want it. So I'm kind of curious on the future of these street races.
Isn't that a 2023 topic though, or like this generation topic to complain about something like this? Like I get that we complain about construction, we complain about traffic, we complain about all this stuff, but when you're sitting there watching and entertained for the 2 hours, does it really matter? Like, I get that it sucks for Vegas, but Vegas is Vegas. I guess I don't know what it's like to live in Vegas. I just know it's obviously one of the heck of a place to go, um, if you want to blow off some steam. But I don't know. I just think it's awesome that we have the ability to create racetracks wherever the hell we want in the world and say let's go and do it. And F1 especially being able to do it.
Yep.
Well, I
It'll
think
be
it's
interesting.
yeah. Well, it's anytime you bring a sporting event or some sort of large event into a town, there's going to be disruption. But if you start to look at the amount of income and the benefits that that town will get. You take Chicago. I can't remember what it was, but I mean the influx of cash is huge. It's not just racing. I mean, you think about concerts, you think of anything like that you're bringing in a large group of people. It's the surrounding, all the businesses around that pick up so much business.
Well, if you look at it, it could be a lot worse. You bring in an F1, you could actually be bringing in the Oakland Athletics. Oh, wait, that is happening.
Bob Dreiling, a teammate, he went to Vegas last week and sent us a bunch of behind the scenes pictures, which was pretty cool. Okay, Mackenzie, how about 100 pit stops?
Yeah, so DJ UG reviewed Jordan, aka Bottom Split. So he was running a NIS race at Martinsville, and he did 100 pit stops and managed to pull out a P5. So first of all, there's probably almost 100 cautions in this race anyway, so realistically, you do a pit stop every caution. But yeah, he ended up with no incident points somehow, dodged every wreck. He actually finished like 8th, but then 3 people ahead of him got DQ'd for the incident limit, so he ended up being P5. But 100 pit stops in a race is pretty crazy.
So he was having to do 3 pit stops per caution because there's only 30
Yeah.
cautions. Like it was
Right,
150
he's pitting
laps.
every time by.
Like that just. Good thing we don't have that glitch that was happening years ago on pit road where you get something would happen and you'd end up stuck or you'd have a black flag. You're trying to risk your chance there.
Look, it's super impressive because if you have to pit every time by on a yellow and they don't catch up just, every single time, you're going to get lapped, because you're at the back, right? I would be concerned about that, but it's amazing that he's able to pit like literally every lap under yellow that he could. Um, I presume even coming to the one to go, maybe he pits. I don't know, but and then to pull out a top 5 on top of everything, and 0 incident.
Well, it's really hard when you're sitting on pit road to get incidents every time, and if you're starting at the back, you just don't. If you got 30 cautions at 150 of what was that 200? It was 250 was that race, right? So you really only had 100 green flag laps, so it's just drag race to turn 1 caution, and then roll around for every 3 or 4 laps, right? So that's he didn't. If he was starting at the back all the time, it wasn't going to be a problem.
So next Martinsville, I'm going to challenge somebody on the team to do this strategy. Like one race, just you got to pit every time and see how it shakes out.
Tony Rochette's going to be in his truck tomorrow saying challenge accepted.
Okay,
So next,
Jordan. Pearson, how about D-Box Motion Zone?
Yeah, Mike, the D-Box Motion Zone at Phoenix Raceway lets viewers experience everything the driver was feeling using the D-Box Motion systems. And is this Anthony Alfredo?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
yeah.
And yeah, he's got this D-Box rig in front of this big screen motion projector. And yeah, he's showing this off in front of a crowd.
Yeah, so
But you
if you
gotta
watch,
look carefully.
if you watch the video, so he's in a motion rig, and then all of the seats that of everybody behind him are in motion seats as well. So everything that's happening to him was happening to them too. It's pretty neat.
Oh,
Like the whole audience seats are all in motion chairs, and so you're right. Like he goes over the bump, everybody goes over the bump in the audience, and so it looks like it seats maybe 20 people or something at a time. And wow, what a neat thing for like at the racetrack, pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So and I think he talked about cutting the dog leg and having the car slam down. Everybody was feeling that as well.
What a way to get people interested in sim racing. They've never seen sim racing. They're at the racetrack, they're walking around, behind the grandstands, they see this. Oh, well, this isn't like you have to crawl into it and drive it. You just sit in a chair. Okay, I'll sit in a chair and watch it. And then you feel the thing shake and you're like, whoa, this is cool.
I think that's a little moneymaker. $20, bang, bang, bang.
Why did they do the cup thing? They should have done the rally. That would have really got people going.
Okay, Brad, how about iRacing in drag?
Yeah, so Brian Miller asked in the forum poll if it's time for drag racing in iRacing. Says, I really would like to see some kind of drag racing discipline added to the service. A few tracks that have already been scanned have drag strips. So, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure this has been a wanted, discipline for years. I can remember years ago, there was a lot of discussion about being able to do drag racing, especially, when they were able to, like was alluded in one of the previous videos about being able to set up sectors. So I don't know. Is it time for drag racing and iRacing?
There's 3 votes. There are 3 things to vote on: yes, no, and I don't have a desire to play drag racing. 40% wins that one. I don't have the desire. 37% no, and 21% yes.
Well, I mean, if you think, I guess Sonoma, there's the track that's there. The drag strips, that's Sonoma. I'm sure there's some other ones as well.
Can't wait for them to add another discipline that doesn't have the right track prep.
Yeah, can you imagine the tire model to really, okay, you have to model the top fuel dragsters back wheels putting down rubber, during those burnouts, and they have to model that just perfectly, the heat, the amount of rubber, all that.
What about latency and reaction time? That's going to be the hardest thing. You'll never get it. There's a reason that you don't see lots of multiplayer dragster games. It's online would be really hard because anyone that's blinking or something can't get the right reaction time. It ain't gonna help you.
But at the end of the day, is there really a desire for a drag racing game?
And there's a lot of manufacturers in drag racing and different types. That'd be a lot of scanning that they'd have to catch up on. What do? Get one dragster and then have the next 2 or 3 years, people complaining they don't have enough freaking dragsters to pick from too, like another edition. I don't know. Could the drags end up being like the rally or the rally series where they just isn't as popular as they think it was going to be?
There's only so many things to race in a day. It's like, I think that's why most people pick the one I don't have a desire. I mean, I was thinking just the other day, like there's so many things in iRacing I have yet to even try. Like that new Super Formula, open wheel car that looks so cool. I haven't even tried it, and it's like, man, there's so much potential out there of things you can do. I don't know if we need this on top of it, but okay, Greg, you got the dying for iRacing.
So, James Barry put a post up. Would you risk your life for iRacing? I'm not. I haven't got a chance to look through this, but maybe you can give more context to it because I'm just looking at the answers here. I missed this one on it, but I wouldn't die
Well,
for iRacing.
it's a story of statistics, and
Oh,
he
okay.
basically did some research, and he says, look, your chance of death in a skydive, 1 in 100,000. Your chance of death in any single car journey, 1 in 5 million. Um, so essentially, if the average chance of death in any given race on iRacing was say 1 in 1 million, would you still race? What would your threshold be? Or would you quit completely and just focus on more important races? So he's basically saying, look, you can be an iRacer and iRace, but there's a chance that you're going to get killed, 1 in 1 million chance. Would you continue to iRace?
This this
Deep
brings up
question.
this brings up. I was in a race years ago with somebody that was racing in a tornado watch, and you could hear in the background. You could hear wherever state he was from. He had the actual warning, the sound going off, and I'm like, "Are you gonna go?" He's like, "Well, if it all of a sudden just cuts and I get disconnected, it was too late at leaving." And I was like, "So maybe that is the 1 in 1 million."
I was just thinking, like, how do you implement this? Like, okay, so you're getting in the car, you strap on your gloves and your headset, and you have to put a, a metal collar around your neck that's attacked to the electricity or
What is
something.
this, Saw?
Uh,
Dave Kamers,
so it's a pole.
Dave Kamers on a bike with a mask and telling you the rules of the game.
I did watch that movie the other day. We went to the theater.
So 51% said no, no matter how small, I will not risk anything for a video game. 51% voted that way.
I think some people probably just need to
Right.
race more and think less.
I think the appropriate question is not your life. I mean, we play with our lives all the time with our wives if you're married. So maybe this should be, what are the chances of divorce from iRacing?
There you go. But yeah, and 15% said 1 in 10,000. I'm suicidal. But, I think a lot of people don't understand it when they initially vote exactly what they're selecting until you really think about it.
I wonder what my statistic for dying is being a truck driver, being on the road every day. If the commute to work is so big.
It's got to be, your odds got to be worse than that commute to work. All right, I got World of Outlaw sprint cars. Alex Bergeron is back and capitalizes. He wins the iRacing World of Outlaw Thrustmaster Sprint Car Series season opener at Volusia. I didn't see the race, but pretty cool to see a familiar name win it and start off the championship right. Okay, Justin, how about the iRacing 9.0.0 release notes? Usually we don't talk about these, but this one's special.
Yeah, this is the first time me seeing the article, but yeah, it looks like. Sorry, I'm trying to get this article up. Maybe one of you guys can take over.
This is from what you were talking about the other night, Mike, with the iRacing browser. But from
so we got a
UI
browser. Right, we have a browser version, I guess, of the beta UI is a way to call it. So you open it up in Google Chrome, and it looks like the beta UI. It's like a carbon copy, but it's in a browser. And it's a new website that you've never heard of before. Normally, the old website is members.iracing.com. The new one is members-ng, like next gen, .iracing.com. So members-ng.iracing.com. Go there, sign in, and you can do almost everything you can in the beta UI except for launch races. Like you can look at stats, you can set up league, you can do this and that, whatever you normally do in there, you can do now in a browser.
So when the discussion was about getting away from the beta UI, I really did not expect to launch a web page and have it look just like the beta UI.
I think this is different. I still think the beta UI is getting replaced with a different beta UI. I think this is a way of further sunsetting the old website. There, that all that functionality is now in this new website, or most of it. It is confusing. Now I'm going to read what they wrote. Because I don't want to, quote, prior to sunsetting the class member site with browser without the need to have an iRacing installation on the machine. We are referring to this as iRacing Web. This is not a separate product, merely an additional way to access what is currently known as the iRacing UI. I call that beta UI. The goal is to make sure functionality which does not require a connection to the iRacing installation is still available once the Classic member site is sunset in the future. This should be particularly helpful for team and league admins, but will obviously be nice for everyone who wishes to interact with the service on PCs without an iRacing installation. Results and stats are available in the iRacing web. So this is kind of on topic for me right now because my sim rig is tore apart. My racing computer's here on the floor, and I'm on a laptop. And so it was kind of neat to jump on this website and go on the laptop and kind of poke around and see what's up. I guess I'll ask you guys, how do you think you'll use it if you will use it?
I mean, I guess once it gets full functionality, it's fine. I mean, there's still things that I go back to the classic site because it's easier to find some stuff.
I still launch races from the classic site and then just go to the UI to start it.
I've used nothing but the UI, and I don't see anything really wrong with it because I remember when I first started listening to you guys a couple years ago in 2020, I remember Mike complaining about it all the time.
Has he stopped?
Yeah, I'm the same as Justin. I've used the UI the whole time. So, I mean, I don't really know what I'm missing out on not using that classic website, so I've had no problems with the UI.
Well, I guess like for me, coming back 7 years later, there was no UI when I left, so the familiarity was there with the classic. Now, I mean, I used the UI, but I mean, sometimes I still struggle trying to find information out from like results out of the UI. So I don't think you can get as detailed laps and all that stuff out of the UI unless I'm just missing something on the results.
For stuff like that, I always just use the app on my phone. I find it so much easier to find like the details for results and stuff.
Yeah, the iRacing Companion is that's actually easier to navigate than the website.
Yeah, so it's interesting for sure. So yeah, check it out. All right, I'm gonna do the big story.
Woohoo!
Wow, we didn't expect to be talking about this so soon. I think we last week we talked about maybe it'll
February.
be late March when yeah, or something like that. But here it is, a week later. Mike Straw reporting on his Twitter account that IndyCar has officially terminated its license agreement with Motorsports Games.
Don't think anybody's surprised.
Yeah, it came kind of out of the blue, but yeah, it looks like IndyCar pulled the plug on it. It was made public in a SEC filing on November 8th. That went public on November 14th, a couple days ago.
So they already had it filed before we even made comments last week.
Yeah, so I think it's so you know what that means. As soon as the British touring company said, "Hey, we're out," that means IndyCar pulled the plug at the same time. You know that this we didn't know it.
Well, they probably saw the same thing where they laid off, because I think it was that episode last week that we were talking about the layoffs of the workers for it, for the people that were working on the game were laid off. So that would even be before they filed it, or they would have already filed it before they got laid off.
Right. There was a group in Australia that was working on it. Then we have a video here from Redmond. He basically went on to say, "What a shame, because that game was close. It was like 90% done. Like you could play it. Like it just needed polish." Because we've seen videos, we've seen like some teasers and stuff, and you know what's going to happen with that code? Is it just going to be shelved forever? Is Motorsports going to sell it to another group or something and let them finish it? Is IndyCar starting over from scratch? Are they going to run back to iRacing with their tail between their legs and ask for forgiveness, or what?
Well, my question is, if they've terminated their agreement, then is there anything now stopping iRacing from using their properties? Because they didn't terminate anything with iRacing. They just signing their agreement with the Motorsports prevented them from using the IndyCar license here. Now the IndyCar license is up in the air. Can you run any? I guess you still couldn't run anything without IndyCar's permission.
Yeah, I think there's a possibility of two deals. There's probably a deal just to get it back to the way it was, where we can just run the IndyCar and run the Indy 500. That's probably one deal, and I'm sure that's probably in the works, if not already done. But then the other deal is what's going to happen with the console game. You know, it sure makes sense that, you know, iRacing would pick this up. I mean, if you were IndyCar and you saw that, wow, you know, iRacing got the NASCAR license, they got all these good people working for them, man, they're going to do awesome. We want them to do our game too. You know, that's what I would be thinking.
So does that leave the only thing licensed that they have is what R Factor and that WEC, right?
Law.
And they have a Le Mans game coming out, don't they?
That's the next shoe to drop. Yeah.
Man, could you imagine if every one of those licenses that they tried to monopolize just deteriorates and no games come from it?
I think that's how it's going to end up. I mean, it sure looks like it.
Well, and think about their debacle last year where Max Verstappen was like talking so bad about their game, right?
Well, it's the story that it keeps on giving. We'll see what happens next week, huh? Okay. Uh, Mackenzie, how about Contender Series champion?
Yeah, so Vicente Salas, he's the eNASCAR Contender Series champion. So that'll have him heading back to the Coke Series with a lot of momentum behind him.
Heck yeah. I mean, he had a second and 4 wins or something. Yeah, something crazy. Like he was just knocking them off.
Yeah,
So
I
I think
watched.
it was six. Was it 6 races, and then he got a second and 4 wins? So out of the 6 races, 5 of them he had a first or a second.
Yeah, he's been pretty dominant. I've tried to watch some of those races when they've been on, and I mean, it's again just up front continually. So still there's been some talk. I guess it's going to be at least 21 guys coming out of that going back. With was it Conte retiring?
There was 2 guys that were coming out. I
Conti.
think there was 22 that they had to get. Um, I mean, Vicente's always been strong on cars that are harder to drive. I feel like he thrived in this car. This is what, twice now he's thrived in this car. I don't think he won it, but to get into the Cup Series, driving through this series before, he just is. He seems like he enjoys driving a car that's harder to drive, maybe, and more of a handling car than an aerodynamic car.
Yeah, that's a good point. Momentum doesn't mean much if it's a different car, right? Okay, Justin, how about? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say he also goes on to say he's the number one free agent for the 2024 season. So does that mean he still needs a sponsor for the Coke series?
Well, he'll be drafted to one of those teams that lost the driver into this series.
Yeah, that's always fun when you figure out which drivers go to which teams. I think that's what he's referring to. He's going to be the guy to pick, so to speak.
Because technically, was he driving for Elliott last year? Because he might be saying that now because he's not driving for Elliott anymore because they're not in that series.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly which one he was with,
I
but
thought it was Elliott.
good to see him
He
back.
came up with Elliott. I don't know if he was actually in that series with Elliott though. I can't remember.
All right, let's jump on to Justin Phantom Cars.
Yeah, Mike. Robin Trustwell compiled a list of Phantom cars without a series, but not designated as legacies. I guess I'm kind of confused on this article. I guess I don't know what's going on with these Phantom cars. It's got a list of them.
They just don't have a series because they've been put into legacy once they were replaced. They're just cars that are on the sim to test or drive, but you can't. There's nothing official year round that you can race with them.
Gotcha.
And they don't have the word legacy. That's the other key. So they're car names that don't have the word legacy in them that are currently not being raced.
I mean, some of those should have been put as like. Why wasn't the Williams card put as a legacy? It's been around for so long.
Yeah, same thing with the rough.
Right. Is this an oversight or what?
Or is it just us taking legacy too literally and needing it to be visually showing us? It's just something we're complaining about because it just doesn't say it? Or is it because of someone did say in the comments there that some of the cars are still like full price if you went and bought them now too, which kind of if you don't have the I think the biggest thing is if they don't have the legacy title, someone could just purchase it that doesn't have a lot of experience in iRacing and and not realize, oh crap, there's no series tied to it or something like that. I know all of us, if you see Legacy, there's probably least things that it's not going to be racing in, but I think it just shouldn't be. There should be, maybe there should be a warning that there's no series on some of these cars. This doesn't race in an official series.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, when you're in the store, when you're looking at a car, I think that isn't there an option to see what series it's active in? I think there is. So
I don't know, maybe. So I'll read off some of these cars. We have the Audi R18 LMP1, the Porsche 919 LMP1, the HPD, the Chevrolet Daytona prototype, the old one. On the open wheel, we have the Formula Renault 2.0, Mercedes W12, Mercedes FW31, like Greg was talking about, the old Williams. And it goes on, but that's kind of cool. Yeah, I just think maybe they need to clean up the labels. Yeah, I would think there would need to be legacy after these. But what is iRacing? What does it mean to them when they market legacy? Is it a different price, perhaps, or?
well, I think that some of the ones that are legacy, I think are like what, $3 or something. It's a $5. It's a reduced price.
Right. So maybe for iRacing, it just that's all it means when they put legacy on. It's a reduced price. Well, this guy's like, well, it should say legacy because it's not being raced. It's not. There's no series to race it.
There seems to be a lot of complaints in this thing about the NASCAR Gen 6 cars still being full price. It seems to be really hanging up in the comments on people here.
Yeah, I saw that. Like almost like trying to trick people into buying it.
Some of the theories of why it's still that is kind of outrageous. I don't understand why people think that they'll ever go back to that car.
Yeah. The racing's been pretty good this year, so I don't think that's happening.
I was glad to see hear that. Speaking of that, I was glad to hear that horsepower is not taken off the table as something to fix that car, though, possibly.
Yeah, and to hear Harvick and preach it, Harvick was like, "Man, we need more power in these cars," and so hopefully NASCAR is listening. All right, Brad, you got Drive Smart to Daytona.
Yeah, so DJ EJ has put up a video, if you guys remember. I think it was back at the Texas race where he'd done a promotion with the 90, I think it's a 92 car, to design a paint scheme. So Drive Smart to Daytona, the sponsor for Drive Smart, has put together a contest to where two people or a person can win a trip to the Xfinity race in Daytona. So it's a series of qualifiers, or they're doing time attacks from the 15th of November till December 2nd, using the pickup cup truck Legacy Charlotte. So the way it works is you go in and do the time attacks, and then they'll whittle that down, I think, to 200 people, then actually do some racing in order to determine the winner. So a pretty neat program, and again, neat to see a sponsor really kind of taking what was done a few months ago as our first, I guess, kind of foray into iRacing to really try to embrace it and give people the opportunity to do something pretty neat.
It is a neat idea, and he's got this concept of team where there'll be team captains. They're celebrity team captains. Of course, DJ EJ is one of them. Also, Raw Gator, IDK player, and Landon Huffman from Late Models, Casey Kerwin, and Ryan Vargas from Xfinity. So those will be your team captains, and they're going to have some kind of scenario where there's a team involved. Yeah.
So you guys put this in our chat. I think it was yesterday. You guys were talking about it, so I got interested. I got home from work early and I started messing around. and I'm in the top 200. I'm a 111. So.
All right.
All right,
So Justin, you're the guinea pig.
So I started out at 104 in the last 3 hours. I went down to 111. So I don't know if I'll hold, but I know what I need to do. I just gotta execute it. It's a fast little racetrack and truck.
Well, do you have anything left? Can you get another 10th?
I think so. I mean, you just can't be scared. You got to trust the truck in the turn.
Is it? Oh, it's just a single lap attack, eh?
Yeah, your fastest lap, I think, is going to be on your first lap. So if you don't do it, you might as well just start over.
I wonder if I should try that with my qualifying. How good I am at qualifying.
So there's an elaborate, he described it in a video, but I didn't quite catch it, where he was saying that you don't have to have a good iRating to participate in this. He has some kind of concept where he's taking people from various levels of iRacing in some fair manner. I didn't really catch exactly how he's pulling that off, but don't be dissuade if you're not a high iRating to participate in this. Is what the message is. Go ahead. All right, I got iRacing top 10 highlights. This video came out earlier today. And I watched it. It was good. It was a lot of videos we've seen over the last month, though, that were released on an individual basis on social media channels. But it was cool to see some of these replays, like the guy in the truck race at Talladega win it, as he drove under a car flipping over over top of him, and lots of side-by-side finishes or 3 wide at the line and that kind of thing. The other thing this reminds me of is that new open wheel car I mentioned from Japan. What's it called? The Super something?
Super Formula?
Super Formula, right. Yeah, I mean, there's a great battle in those cars on here. There's a couple of them, actually. And they can't get away from each other. I don't know. They got like the big Hanford device on the back tail where it makes this huge draft for the car behind, so the lead car just can't get away. It looks like really fun racing.
Do those cars have DRS or no?
I don't think so. The other one that looks super fun that I haven't really done is the Toyota 86 cars, like pack racing on a road course. Like they're 2 and 3 wide, like corner after corner after corner, and it just looks like so much fun.
But it's just like the MX-5 series in real life. You don't have to have a super fast car to have great racing.
Yeah, it just looks like fun to participate in too, So, yeah, I love these videos to remind me of all the things I'm not doing in iRacing. I need to try.
Well, if you notice the Black Friday sales coming up, so it's a great time to extend your membership. Your current member, I think, is 25% off, and then I think for new members, they're doing 50% off. So, Mike, you can extend that another year and try even more stuff.
Yep, that's next on the list. Black Friday, just a reminder, now's the time. You're not going to find a better deal to renew. You don't have to wait to renew either. This just tacks on the year or two on top of wherever your normal expiration date is.
I know I just took advantage of it. Then those SimLab Versa mounts are on their way too. I just got the shipment statement text message.
Yeah, I'm going to extend mine as well. And I've started looking, I left the service when I moved in 16, and I think my membership was good till 18.
All right, Greg, how about Next Level Racing King of the Track?
So they put up a tweet. I guess they're gonna have. In case you missed it, we are hosting the Big Sim Racing event this of the year. Want to win $1,000? Reveal our brand new product. Crown the king of the track. So I guess if you go register at nextlevelracing.com, king of the track. They're going to be running the Radical SR8 at Lime Rock. 2 laps, I guess, is the chip testing, or to hot lap it. What's the date? So, yeah. So then there's the dates. Australia server, I guess, will be 8 a.m. On the 16th of November, which would have been already passed, right? No, it's today. Their time.
Yeah, these are today.
Europe
we just missed it.
Yeah, US just did it yesterday. So the European one, I guess they're all just it's like right, it's already done. So if you didn't do it already by the time this is coming out, sorry guys.
Well, the Next Level Racing dropped the ball. I mean, I didn't see, to put this out within 7 days of their event. They're not going to get a lot of people to know about it. They should have put it out a little sooner. But yeah, I mean, this came out, publicly in the last 7 days. So I'm a little surprised. But yeah, it looks like it was only 2 laps. You have to put in 2 laps and try to win a prize.
I think what it is you just entered on their website, just registered there, and then they just randomly pick someone to actually do it. So I think there was only actually one duel, and you just had to beat whoever was the reigning champ. And I think they're just going to continuously keep doing this.
The prize tiers.
Oh, I see.
A streak of 5 will win you a Next Level Racing merch pack. A streak of 10 will globally launch a new Next Level Racing product, and a streak of 15 will mean you win $1,000 AUD cash prize.
All right. I got this one, the Weekend iRacing. This is just a been a nice reminder that they put together, and you can see it in the app and whatnot. But hey, like a calendar, what's going on? And so some of the items are, you got the British Racing FF 1600 Festival happening this weekend. Of course, Winter NIS continues. Unfortunately, I'm missing out on that. They talk about the FIA regional F4 races that I kind of started but never finished. Ringmeister, Draftmaster, don't forget about those. And then BMW M Sim Cup wraps up next weekend. And Brad, we have some new ones: the iRacing Winter Derby Open and Fixed.
Yeah, so starting next week, Five Flags Speedway is going to be the Winter Derby. 300 laps, either open or fixed. The open race starts, I think, next Wednesday. And then the fixed, the dates on the fixed, probably the next day. Like
they alternate.
Is. Yeah. So pretty exciting. I'm planning to at least try to run the open one. Like next Wednesday night, we don't have a league race that night, so I like Five Flags. Haven't run much with the late model, but just seems like it's going to be a fun time. So we're going to drag out the iRacers Lounge podcast late model and see what we can do.
All right, Brad. I'm impressed that you're getting involved. I think you're the only one on the team who said he was, but you said open. You're not going to try fixed.
We'll see how the open goes first. 300 laps at Five Flags is a lot, so if it goes well, then we'll do fixed as well. So we'll start with the open.
Podcast housekeeping. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find us. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We do appreciate it. Get involved in the discussion on Discord. Lots of stuff happening over there. And our website, iRacersLounge.com. And our merch is iRacersLounge.shop. I'm wearing one of the polos and hats right now. Love it. And we are in regular rotation at Performance Motorsports Network. Hardware, software, Justin, Sim Racing for You, button box review.
Yeah, the SimPit reviews the Sim Racing for You button box. And this is a interesting looking one. It's just a big rectangle sitting upright. And it's just got a series of, it's got 29 functions, backlit blue for sim racing.
It's got that, these gray lined squares around each box that are like really show up when there's a black light in the room. And so some of these shots, I think there's a black light, and so it really pops when you have those under the black light.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat looking button box. Would like to see maybe a few more rotary options as opposed to just nothing but buttons.
It's only got one toggle too. I like toggle switches.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in the market for a button box. Every now and then I go down the rabbit hole of button boxes as I start to look for stuff. And I've got a lot of pages bookmarked right now.
I built one for like $20 off of Amazon stuff.
Oh, maybe we need to talk.
I'll send you a link.
I'll just get the stuff shipped to your house.
Yeah, this is deep. I don't like how button boxes are really deep. I don't know why, but that was a huge thing when I picked my button box. I have one of the thinnest button boxes out there. It's like 1 inch deep. €179 for that. It is 3D printed, but it's got that carbon style look to it. Pretty cool. Okay, Mackenzie, how about iRacing on the cheap?
Yeah, so DJ EJ, he I honestly don't even know what brand this wheel is, but he just got the cheapest wheel and pedals he could. I did watch this video. I forget what cars he was running in at what track, but he honestly said the wheel wasn't bad, but the pedals were awful. He couldn't even brake with them, so he ended up switching them to his V3s, and he said it was much better.
Yeah, I watched this as well. Anybody that's been around this sim racing for a long time, the first wheel I had 1996, was rubber bands, and that's what it was. So I think it was suction cupped. Was the way it was set up to hook to the desk. It had suction cups on the bottom. But he said, yeah, I mean, I think it was in the ARCA car at Phoenix. So, yeah, pedals were a mess, but the steering wheel wasn't that bad. I think he was really within about, when I looked, maybe a tenth, 2 or 3 tenths from what he is in normal. So I guess you could do it cheap if you really wanted to.
I think that's how people should start, is buy the cheapest stuff possible. Run it for a little bit, see if you actually like the concept of it, then upgrade to the big stuff. I think that's the most affordable way too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we talked, Mike, when I got back into this, I knew what I wanted. So it was a lot of money all out at once. But after years ahead, back in the day, I think when I got done, I was probably on my 5th wheel by then. So you either spend the money over the course of time or you spend it all at once.
Yeah, this is bought from Temu, Temu, he said. One of those kind of cheap knockoff Chinese websites where you can buy cheap product, and that's where he got it. But yeah, I mean, he's right. You can get into sim racing on the cheap, if you really try.
He did say it had more buttons on this than it had on his Logitech.
All right. How about the Brad Next Level Racing GT Light Pro?
Yeah, so Dan, Suzuki reviewed the Next Level Racing GT Light Pro foldable racing sim rig. Watch the video. It's interesting. I mean, I guess if you've got a spot where you don't have a whole lot of room, um, it gives you the option to fold it up. I don't know. It's just, he's got a Sim Magic Alpha, I think, mounted onto this thing, and I just don't know how well it's going to something like this is going to hold up if you've got a direct drive wheel. Again, interesting concept. And he made some comments. You'd have to make some adjustments to the pedals and trying to find a way that it's a little more comfortable. You have to have pedals with a base plate of some sort because otherwise, you can't get them on the ground. Again, if space is an issue, I guess it's a good option.
Yeah, it's just a step up from, racing at a desk with an office chair. He said if that's your setup, then this is a step up from that. You can fold it up and, and put it in a corner, stick it in a closet, if you're in a small apartment, if it makes sense for you, do it, but obviously there's flex. You can see it, in the video, the wheel flex and the seat moving and stuff. So it's not ideal, but it's better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, probably a lot of us. I mean, I started out at a desk. I mean, that's just the way it was. That's what you did. You clamped it onto the desk, and that's where we started racing.
Yeah, I actually have the GT Lite. So the only difference between it and the Pro is the Pro just has a more padded seat. But I got it because it does fold up. Like I just lift the pedals up and I can push it up against the wall and I have a bit more room. I don't have a direct drive wheel, so I can definitely see how there would be flex when you do have one. But honestly, it's still pretty comfortable. And I do need to get a heel plate for my pedals though, because I have them and my feet are on the floor and it is too far away. But other than that, I have no complaints with it. I would like to obviously upgrade eventually, but
Yeah, but you had a budget, right? When you had to buy this, and you wanted to get something, but you couldn't afford it. But this was for the price, though. It hit all the check marks, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're selling this Pro for $299 US.
So, Mackenzie, let me ask you a question. What do you do as far as for monitor or TV? What do you do? Something sitting up on the desk or mounted on the wall?
I use VR.
That makes sense then.
Okay, I got this one. We got another video about the Fanatec QR2, a quick release. Trauma Team Racing this time. He goes over it. Is it worth it or not? He talks about everything you need to know: how to set it up, you had to set it up on the wheel side, the base side. Which one do you get, the cheaper one or the better one? We had a very similar video a week ago from somebody else, and so yeah, it's making the rounds and everybody's trying it. But yeah, I think this is going to maybe save Fanatec. It They needed this so bad, because their old QR is something else. Um, but yeah, if you're in the Fanatec system, you definitely need to research these things before you buy them.
Yeah, I watched this, and watching what you have to go through in order to swap this out is rather labor intensive.
Right. I'm not real handy like that to start taking apart wires and internal mechanisms and stuff. I'm not real comfortable with that.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I still just don't understand why they couldn't go with somewhat of a standard NRG quick release. I just don't understand. It just seems it's a lot more complicated than what it needs to be.
It is, and it took them so long to come up with it. That was the biggest problem. Like, 3.5, 4 years or whatever it was that they've been working on this.
Yeah, and he talked in there, I guess, because you've got the gold, which is the top of the line, which is like twice as expensive as the other one. But depending on how, what strength your wheel is, you got to get a certain one. I don't know. I just, yes, I guess it may save Fanatec. It just seems like maybe too much, too little, too late. I don't know. I'll never go back to their ecosystem. It's just no way.
Well, I think the real thing is they'll never regain their market share that they had. They had huge market share, say 3.5, 4 years ago. Like they were they had the most people in there, than any other company. And now it's quite the opposite of that. They're definitely never going to get that back, I don't think.
Now, I think you look at like what Mosa's doing. I think that's probably the easiest comparison. Just so much better options.
All right, Justin, disappearing 4090s.
Yeah, Jay's 2 cents looks into the sudden lack of 4090s. He does a video about kind of like a conspiracy theory kind of deal with NVIDIA, and I think I remember watching a little bit of it, and he kind of says that NVIDIA is kind of doing price manipulation by releasing inventory strategically. I believe I'm right on that.
Yeah. Yeah, they're talking about a new card that's going to be coming out. That's like what did 4070 Ti or 4070 Super, or maybe it was a 4080 Super or something like that. And there's just there's no where does it fit into the pricing structure? So you got the 4090 at 1500, you got the 4080 at 1200, and so forth. And so they're going to put out this new card, and so what he's saying is they just basically suck dry all the inventory of the 4090s out there, which artificially inflate that price with the resellers. So instead of 50, you can't get one for 1500. They're 1800, 2000 on Newegg. Okay, and so that opens up the door for them to, okay, well, let's put out our 4070 Super now at 1400 or whatever, and see if we can sell those. And so yeah, he puts on the tinfoil hat and everything.
I think there's probably a little bit of truth in all of it.
Well, when they're in competition with themselves and not really anybody else, I mean, what do you expect? Okay, Mackenzie, Cooler Master Dyne-X cockpit.
Yeah, Carl Gosling reviews the Cooler Master Dynex cockpit. I haven't actually watched this video, but this cockpit actually looks pretty cool. It is 2,000 euros though.
It's the downside. What was his only downside, actually?
Very expensive.
It's a tubular cockpit, and it's really nice. I mean, the design of it, there's no flex. He had a lot of good things to say about it, but the fact that it costs so much money, I mean, it's just like that's a no buy. This is very similar to the one Tom is getting from Track Racer, the Alpine Racing one.
What I thought was neat, there's like a hinge on below the seat that you can turn into F1 kind of style, then back to GT.
Yeah, but he talked about that. There's, I think it's like 4 bolts you got to take out. That's very time consuming. It's not an easy conversion. If I think I've said before, it's just the amount of money for a tubular chassis, which you really can't upgrade, you can't do anything to, versus an 80/20. You won't spend as much you're not going to spend $2,000. I mean, I didn't spend that, and that's with triple mount, four monitor mounts, and everything else that I bought from Track Racer. I didn't spend that much on that. It's just that's a lot of money for something that I just don't see where you can. There's no expansion. There's no options to do a lot of that.
80/20 is just so compatible. I wish I would have built my own plan and made my own. I just didn't know how 80/20 worked until it was in front of me, and it's just there's so much stuff out there, and it's really not that expensive.
No, and the nice thing with it is, I bought a Track Racer, but you can pick up add-on stuff, really from anybody. So it's not like you have to go to Track Racer every time. If it's Advanced Sim Racing, or if it's somebody else has an option, has something there, it's just so easy to do stuff to 80/20.
Then I don't know why it's my area, but like I've said, 80/20 is just down the road from me. Then we got another facility here, and it's called Parker, and I'm learning about, and it's just pretty much kind of a off-brand of 80/20, and that runs even cheaper.
Yeah, I mixed parts on my setup. I have a SimLab P1X, but I didn't like the PC shelves I saw that were available, and I ended up getting the PC shelf from Advanced Sim Racing. And then a lot of the peripherals, like the cup holder and different things, I got from other people, other companies, and like you said, it's easy just to mix and match. All right, I'll take Fanatec's Kill Shot. Will Ford at Boosted Media. He reviews finally the Club Sport DD and DD Plus. 12 Newton meters and 15 Newton meters, but those aren't peak numbers. Those are I don't know. I forget the term, baseline number or holding peak or holding Newton meter, I guess it's called. So they're actually more powerful than some of the other ones that advertise on the peak Newton meter. And so comparing to like the Podium DD1 and DD2, he's actually like, you should buy these before you buy those. I mean, it really says a lot about how much the DD base has evolved over the years. The Podium series is pretty old. It's got this new software. I think he called it True Force or something that Fanatec's calling it, but he's very impressed with how how it feels. As far as the difference between them, 12 and the 15, not much. He said, look, if I did a blind test, driving these, I might guess which one's which 6 out of 10 times.
Mike, any idea what the price points were on these?
The DD Plus is
No, I don't
1,000,
recall.
and the DD 700.
Wow.
That's somewhat comparable to, if you're in that 12 to 15 range. I'm thinking like from Sim Magic, the Mini is in that, I guess, $600 range, and the Alpha that I've got is right around 1,000, so that's not bad.
It makes you think they're going to redo the Podium series soon, though. They have to.
I think the main thing that'll sell the DD Plus for them is that it's compatible over the PlayStation 5.
Good point. A lot of these bases don't have that kind of PlayStation console stuff.
And that really, I mean, it's I don't mean to talk bad about Fanatec, but that is one area where they've done a good job of having cross platform, in their stuff.
Okay, we're going to jump to results. Let's talk the Winter Series. I totally didn't even watch or see it, but you guys had a heck of a race. Brad, you start out P8.
Yeah, so we had a good race. Qualified up front. I think Greg was second. I think I was fifth. I think first time I'd been at the new Atlanta since getting back on the service. kind of a banding track when it comes to drafting. But Greg, myself, and Justin, we got hooked up early. After the first caution, and really just the three of us ran, I guess, to around lap 100 or so of 134. Had to do green flag stops. Bit nervous doing that. And then, unfortunately, we lost Justin coming out. I'd gotten the lead. Greg had been leading the whole time, so he had to take probably about a half a second more fuel than I did. We got back out, and Greg and I just kind of hooked up and really had, just completely. Team Tifosi had the control of the entire race. It was good. And then we had about 2 laps to go, and the guy that was in third had 2 lap cars with him. It was just Greg and I. And they got a run. Greg tried to side draft a little bit to slow him down. They made contact. I lost connection with Greg. Ended up getting a run. He got by me coming to the white flag, and Greg got back to me. Took a shot coming off a 2, got underneath him, and he just threw a Hail Mary block. I knew it was coming. There was no way around it. I knew it was going to get blocked. I think I told you guys in the in the team chat. My only hope was I knew I was going to get wrecked, and that either Greg or Justin was going to get through. Needless to say, that didn't happen. He ended up wrecking out as well. So the guy who ended up winning was nowhere in the front all race. But again, we were a lot of broadcast time. I think all 3 of us got dragged up into and talked to during the broadcast. So really a good night for Team Tifosi and a lot of airtime for the iRacers Lounge podcast cars.
All right. Very good. Justin, P5.
Yeah, kind of. Brad said it all. It was a complete domination. I just rode around P3 there for the first half. Just chilling behind them, and I think we're starting to get something figured out, because I think I hooked up with Brad and Greg in Daytona, and we started getting fast there. I think that track's all about just stability. I think if you push too hard, that's when we're losing them. Because if you watch the broadcast, when we would get tight and stable, we would run out a 3-car pack. We'd be leading, but then once we get a little unstable, we'd check up. But yeah, then I messed up on green flag pit stops. I downshifted too quick and wheel hopped, and that was kind of all she wrote. But then I grabbed a pack and we made a charge there, and we were catching y'all on the last lap, and that wreck happened, and I picked a lane, and it was clear, and it was the outside, and I was entering turn 3, P11. I came out at P5 with a clean car.
All right. And you're getting lots of practice on these green flag stops and learning what not to do, right?
Yeah, and I'm waiting for the results because I'm kind of curious, but I think a lot of big names that were in the Daytona race that had a good finish, I think they got knocked out. And we've been consistent, Team Tifosi. Nothing less than a P12 finish in these 2 races for everybody.
Yeah, I was nervous going in again, never running at the New Atlanta. And I just think it just shows when you get in a league and you can trust guys and you got good guys running. We had some spots where, we had like one time we had 2 lap cars that decided one to go low, one to go high. I was like, oh, this is going to be a disaster. And if it had been if we'd been in a lobby race or an NIS race or something, it would have been an absolute disaster. But, the whole field managed to get through them without any issues. So, it's fun to race with guys that you can, even though we're new to racing with them, that you can somewhat trust.
Yeah, I probably sounded like a goofball on the stream because I've never been in a broadcast or anything, and I'm just racing, trying to figure out my pit stop. I'm focused, and all of a sudden the background changes. I hear the broadcast. I'm like, what's going on? Some random person's talking to me. I'm like, so yeah.
Yeah, you get interviewed during the green flags. It's crazy. Brad, my question is, this first time you've raced the new Atlanta, do you call this now the 3rd restrictor plate track?
I would call it the 3rd drafting track since we don't use restrictor plates anymore. it's I'm not a fan of drafting tracks. It's probably my least favorite type of racing. Uh, I like the old Atlanta, the old Atlanta. I was telling the guys last night, when it was an actual oval versus a quad oval. But it was fun. I mean, it was fun. Um, but yeah, no, it was good. It was good. I was happy. I did not have a good feeling going into it, and I was literally coming to our white flag, and I was like, my gosh, one of us could actually win this race. Well, then it happened.
All right. Well, sure sounds like a lot of fun was had. Sorry I missed it, but I'll be back on track soon enough. Let's jump to final thoughts. Mackenzie Stevens, what do you got?
Yeah, not much. I didn't get to race at all this week. I was really hoping to run the league race last night, just didn't get to. Um, what's our next race there at Dover?
Yep.
Yeah, I never really run great at Dover, so hopefully I can have a decent finish there. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, Justin Pearson, final thoughts.
Yeah, no, I'm just having fun in this league. This is the first league I've been in. And, I'm having a blast. I'm kind of interested in how these boys race on Dover. It's going to be a little tighter. I think it's going to be fun. And, yeah, I'm about to try this 87 car, the Grand Prix out here at, I think it's Phoenix tonight. So I'm starting to love that car. It's starting to wear me out on that semi-cube. My biceps are a little sore after it.
Now you didn't have a result, but you did run last week at in the 87 car. How did that go, Justin?
It, wishy-washy. I was still getting used to it, and I didn't really make any mistakes. I just within the first 20 laps, I did 4 races. Within 20 laps, 3 out of the 4 races, somebody just cleaned me out. Then I would always just play catch up the whole time. But it's you got to worry about your tires there. It's very different strategy, and the momentum is streaky. It hits you real quick and then you lose it. Where the cup car, it slowly builds up and then you can keep it going. Where, yeah, this is just real quick and you better take it and clear them, or you're going backwards.
All right, Brad Wren, final thoughts.
Just having a good time. Again, just glad to be back on the service. Having a good time racing with some teammates. No league race next week. I'll miss Dover. We'll be out of town for an entire week, so I'm gonna try to get some racing in this week because the week after Thanksgiving I'll have the unfortunate problem of being in Hawaii for a week. So,
Ooh. Well, sounds like fun. You're not gonna take your rig with you, I take it. So,
well, maybe if I had to fold up one, I could put in the suitcase and take it.
I went there last month. I had a blast.
Yeah, going for work. So, but staying an extra 3 days once work is done. So, wife and I are excited. And go to Pearl Harbor and all that. Have never been out there. Probably will never have a chance to go back. So, take full advantage and do as much as we can.
all right. Well, enjoy. My final thoughts. Yeah, it's tough not racing right now. I got my rig in 2 pieces. I took off the uprights and didn't really have to take apart anything attached to the uprights. The wheelbase and is still there, and the triple monitor mount and the speakers and so forth, all in one piece. So I think I got it basically into 2 pieces, and I'm gonna transport it that way. So cleaned it all up, wiped it all down, fixed the problem I had with the sagging upright on one side. The bolts had just come loose, because I suck at putting stuff together, I guess. But I got that resolved. So yeah, as soon as I get moved, I'm going to put it together, and we'll be back on the track, and we'll see you then. Take care. Okay, title ideas.
iRacing Multiverse.
Oh yeah, we got to do that.
So literally, we could all be in a server, set up a group, and four people can run together. But I'm still confused about this.
Yeah, so we all jump in a practice server, and we're in there with 30 other people. The four of us could say, okay, jump into group number 4. And so you just go into entries, I think, and at the top there's a little drop down, and you pick the 4th room, and boom, all 4 of you would be into that room, and the other 30 would still be in the original room.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Like I said, never.
It's kind of like pseudo lobbies within the one lobby.
Well, that's pretty neat.
All right. Well, I think we got us a topic. We'll go with the iRacing multiverse. Thanks, guys, for showing up. Great show.
Yeah, we went from nobody to a full house.
Yeah, it always works out. Thanks for showing up.
No problem, Mike.
All right. I'm going to get some dinner. We'll see you guys.
See you guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, see you guys.